everyone, Noble Artist here, and today in this tutorial I'm going to be showing y'all some tips and tricks on how to use clay. We're going to do some sculpting and molding and all that good fun stuff. So I have two projects that I'm going to work on, and I'm going to show you how to do those. One of them is part of the Mandalorian helmet that I'm going to be using for the Mandalorian that I'm going to be making for the contest, and the second one is going to be the chest plate for this figure, which is probably going to be the heavy gunner for the fire squad, and I'll be working on that figure after the Mandalorian, and I gotta do the Roman. So I need to get those two done for the contest, and then I will be getting back to this one. But for now, I'm going to show you guys how to do a little clay work. So some of the tools you're going to need real quick before I get started. I have this here. I know there's different types. There's probably better, more permanent. I wouldn't say more permanent, but they're probably better sculpting clays. This is air dry clay. I actually got this, I think, at a Goodwill. So I don't know how much it really costs. I think you can get it at Walmart, probably under $10. And this is probably gonna last you your lifetime. So it's gonna go a long way. And the problem with this is that it has a really quick work time. So if you're trying to sculpt something and mold, you probably have a couple minutes before it starts to dry out and starts to crumble. So you gotta work kind of quick, but it's totally doable. It's not, you know, you'll see. But anywho, that's going to be using, you're going to need that, and you will need an X-Acto knife. So if you're not able to get one of these, anything with a, doesn't have to be like a blade, but anything with a straight edge. It doesn't have to be sharp either, it just has to be, I mean, because you're cutting into the clay. So if you have parents around or someone who can do this for you, go for it. If not, if you're old enough to do it, go for it. It's not too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I did to this one, because I tried it out first, and then like, hey, that's pretty cool. I'm going to, you know, I'll make a video and show you guys the other side. So what I did here, this is actually the helmet I'm going to be customizing. I cut that piece of metal out, and I basically made my own visor because I wanted my visor to have that cool reflective look to it. So, but I also didn't want these, you know, sharp edges right there, and it looked like you just slapped a piece of metal on, and I didn't like that. So I decided to use the clay to sculpt the helmet around it to kind of give it that recessed look that the visors of the Mandalorians have. So basically, I made this side, and I'm gonna go and show you how to do that side. And yeah, hopefully y'all can do this to your own helmets. But basically, really quick, this yellow is from a Sprite can. So if you want a different color, I've done this before, pushing this underneath the helmet of some of the visors. I don't know if you've seen that in any of my other videos, but that's all this is. So if you want a different color or that cool kind of metallic look from your visor, just cut a piece out. And yeah, I'll probably do this technique again because I think it's going to work really well. So if you want to see how to cut this piece out, then I can do a tutorial for that, but this is just going to be on the clay. So let's go grab some clay. Alrighty, so you're not going to want a whole lot. So I kind of just grabbed a little nugget, as so. And what you're going to do is you're just going to take it where you want it. I'm actually going to take the helmet off. Actually, this is probably a lot more than I need. And then just flatten it out and just kind of stick it on there. It doesn't have to be perfect. You do want it to cover up the edges. Oh, it's a little much. And then kind of just smash it on there. Perfect, look at it. I love it. Just how I wanted it. It's like, all right. So now what you're gonna do is grab your X-Acto knife, and with some precision, basically you're just gonna cut the excess off, like so. Boom, turn it. And you're trying to get to the edge of your visor piece. My visor piece is kind of thin, so I don't want to go too far because then it's going to reveal underneath it, and that's what I don't want. And then you just kind of trim the bottom, make that smooth. Like so. Try to even that out a little bit. That side's kind of rounded, and I have a square right there, but this part's the tricky part. You kind of have to cut, well, let's see. Get rid of that. And then trying to eye it, I gotta cut that little loop out and hope I don't make a weird shape. scrape away that extra. I can definitely tell this is a lot thicker than the other side. I'm going to try to push it down a little bit. You can kind of look down the front to see how it's going to look compared to the other one, and that's pretty good. So now that I did that, I kind of flattened it out a little. So let's just go back over and get rid of that. You don't want it to overflow onto the visor. But you also want it to go up to the edge. Okay. And a little more back here. Boom. Try to straighten this out. You could probably use a toothpick for this, because depending on how sharp your X-Acto knife is, you might accidentally like cut into the visor and put a mark on it, which probably not the best. And I'm gonna just cut that corner off because I want that to be rounded. And this part definitely needs to be trimmed in a little. And there you go. I don't know how well that looked because I wasn't actually looking through my camera when I was doing that. So hopefully when this dries, I'll probably put a little bit on the top too. When it dries, I'll be able to paint it, and I actually might, before this gets too hard. I don't know if that's going to work. I'm kind of winging it at this point. I want to see if I can get that to be sort of flush. So I just kind of straightened that out just a little bit. So we have side 1, side 2, and then when this dries, which it doesn't take a lot for it to dry, like it's probably going to dry enough to paint probably in the next half an hour, I would say. And the paint is definitely going to be where, I mean, you can see the difference of the colors. Like the side's already starting to dry up. So once that dries, go ahead and paint it. And like I said, I'll probably put some here on the top, but I haven't gotten that far in the design because I might have to put it over the whole helmet because, yeah, I'm still working on the top part. But for now, that's that. So I'm actually going to try to put it on the top and cover the top of the visor. I wasn't planning on doing this on video because I don't know how it's going to work. So we're just going to give it a shot, and if it doesn't work, then no harm, no foul, and we'll move on to the next project. So I'm just going to take a guess at what I need for this one. So we're going to roll out a thin piece through our fingers, like so, and just stick that on top of the head. Push it down, and then I'm just going to use my fingers to just smooth it out. Smooth it out, smooth and steady. Okie dokie, now that that is smooth, more or less. Okay, now we're gonna take our X-Acto knife and just cover our, well, let's see. You also want it to cover the visor, so I need to make sure at least doing that. All right. That was way too much. That kind of defeated the whole point. Let's put that back. Go back. Go back. All right. Round 2. Alright, so I ended up kind of smoothing that out with my hand just a little bit, but I think that's pretty much what we want. think we got it where we want it. Oh, if you notice, this side fell off because once the clay dries, it, yeah, you're gonna need to glue it back on, or glue it before it falls off. So the problem with that is now I have this piece here that I'm gonna have to somehow grab with my tweezer bees and not crush, and then glue back on. So let's see if that's possible, because this is fragile. And I broke it. Great. So that's a good, that's nice to know. So for this side, I'm going to definitely put some glue on it before it falls off, but it's still got to dry a little bit. So I'm going to come back to this. To prevent it from doing that, what you're going to do is basically before it completely dries, put some glue on it and just spread it around, and you should be good to go. So I also have a interesting technique in my mind. I was thinking about it today that might work for making these type of chest plates, but for now I'm just going to try to outline the figure, or outline the one on this figure. So as you can see, it's kind of simple. You know, it's just one shape, but we're going to add a little bit of dimension to it and see what we can do. Again, this is the first time I did this, or the first time I'm attempting this, so we will see how it goes. So get your figure, grab a handful of clay. I'm going to take the head off, and I guess I'll take the arms off. You don't have to, but why not? Why not? They kind of get in the way. So sort of see where you're trying to go and just stick. Boom, right there in the middle. I'm actually, I have two of them because the set came with two. So I'm gonna use one for reference. So we have that piece going there, and the sides are kind of indented a little bit. Well, maybe not so much, but it does have, well, wow. Let's work on this for a second. Smaller indents. Alright, kind of like that. So now that we have the clay down, this is where we kind of move somewhat quickly, and we're just going to cut off all the extra on the bottom, and then this piece kind of, let's see, it goes sort of at an angle. Get rid of that. And these little pieces like this, little extra stuff, you could probably just use like a toothpick or wait for it to dry if you really want to clean that up. So it's not, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just try to make sure you get the cuts even on both sides so you don't have like a crazy one-sided lop. And that's pretty close. You can also look at the lines of the figure underneath to see if you matched it up. If that made any sense, I don't know, but you can see what you revealed and make sure you revealed the same amount underneath. Now we're going to do a little bit on here. Bam. There's like that in and out pattern. It kind of shoots in and then cuts back out. I'm going to attempt to do that. So right about here, it sort of just pops in. And then where is that angle? That angle comes out a little bit. So we're going to just do that. I don't know how I feel about that. Let's do that. And trying to do it twice. That looks not too shabby. I don't want this triangle corner. Also, one thing to note is the thicker the clay, the longer it's going to take to dry. Like some of these little flat pieces right here, there's barely anything, that's already dry. You can tell by the color it gets kind of darker. So, not darker, sorry, it gets lighter. It'll turn almost white when it's fully dry, like the thinner pieces. Okay, so this is the outline of the chest plate, and if you notice on the original, there are these lines that go through it. Let me see if I can actually get the focus. There's those 2 lines that go on either side. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the X-Acto knife and try to place those lines. Just cutting into it ever so slightly. Trying to go careful so I don't accidentally like move it around too much. And if you do what I just did and kind of make a weird mess, like I kind of pushed some of the fabric right there, how it folded, that's not a huge issue because that kind of stuff can be, once it's dried a little bit more, that part you can just kind of chip off. So right now I'm kind of just going in stroking motions. I don't want to just shove the blade into it because that will kind of displace everything. So I'm making really thin, light cuts. Definitely taking my time because I want this to turn out right. And again, I kind of displace a little bit at the top. And I think that's pretty much it. So hopefully, if you can see that, it kind of has that same shape on either side. And yeah, like I said, it's going to be, I might be able to cut it off now. And it also can be sanded a little bit once it's dry. A little more. Let's try to not destroy what we just did. I might even be able to use the backside of the X-Acto knife to kind of smooth that out a little bit. And if need be, I can go back through that line. I probably should have steadied my hand a little bit better. That's the problem. Alrighty, so there you have it. Here is the chest plate. You can see it pops off. And if you want it thicker or thinner, that kind of depends on how much clay you put on. I think that's pretty good for this figure. You kind of want your armor to pop out a little bit, and that's definitely not too much. And when it dries and it's painted, it's going to give that cool 3D effect. And this figure, when this dries, I will probably do a painting video. So I think what I'm going to do actually is, I might do it for the Mandalorian, but definitely for this next figure, it's going to be the, let's say I'll do the Heavy Trooper. I'm going to make the Heavy Trooper, because normally when I make my figures, I put all the pieces on and I paint last. And I'm going to make this figure, I'll make a painting tutorial on, maybe not so much a tutorial, but I'll make a video of me painting the figure. And that way you can kind of see how I finish this one up. I'm also going to do some more painting videos, just in general, but for this one particularly, I'm going to do a full figure paint video. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be pretty cool. I've never done one of those before, so I'm kind of excited to try something a little different and give you all some more insight of just how to actually make your customs. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any other suggestions or want to see a certain thing molded or sculpted, let me know. And going back to this figure, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to put the glue on, because this side dried. It's dried enough to do that, and I don't want it to fall off, so make sure you're holding it in the right spot. So the glue I use, this one's a little bit thicker. I know they make thin and easier to apply type of glue, but I'm just going to put a generous amount right there, and then I will take a toothpick, which doesn't have the tip on it, which I should grab one that has a tip. Okay, take your toothpick, and then you're just gonna go over the whole thing. Now the clay is gonna dry and be fine, but this glue is going to protect it from cracking and all that good fun stuff, and hopefully when it's painted, it's gonna last a lot longer. But this is gonna keep this particular piece from doing what the last one did and falling off and shattering. Alrighty, so my camera ran out of memory, so I had to change that. But I'm gonna show y'all, before I was so rudely interrupted by that, I was gluing the side of this helmet. And yeah, you don't need a lot of glue. I'm gonna put some glue on the top. Yeah, let's put some glue in there, and Also, when you do this, if you go a little bit onto the figure, like down here, I went down on this cheek piece, so it actually glued the piece I sculpted to the figure. Because I mean, it's nice to have it glued so it doesn't break, but if it's not actually attached to the figure, you're not going to do much with it. So hopefully that will be enough, because ideally be great to have some glue underneath it, but we can't exactly get underneath it. So this is going to keep it from breaking, and then I'm going to put a little bit more glue. So I'm going to splash some glue on top of the forehead right here, and I'm just going to go around the top of the sculpted piece and just go around. So I can smooth that out later. I can either sand it, or actually I can probably use my finger while it's still somewhat dry or wet, and kind of do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's going to be painted. I'm probably going to paint this one Manda metal, which I might do a tutorial on that, because it's a kind of a tricky technique to get a really cool rustic Mandalorian metal looking look. So that is that. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I don't know if that helped or not. And if you stayed with this whole video, you're awesome. Most people dip out pretty soon, but that is that. I hope these tutorials helped you out a lot. And yeah, if you are still working on your figure for the contest, do not worry. We still have like a week, I think, or we have till the end of the month, so you got about 9 days. So more than enough time. But anywho, that is that. I know I'm a little scattered. I'm trying to like multitask and think about a lot of stuff at once. So if that's distracting, then I'm sorry. And if not, then moving on. So anywho, if you haven't checked out my last figure, this was the last custom I made, which is also the first one I made in a good long while. If you like the color scheme and the way I did this, then you're in luck, because I'm going to be doing this 3 more times for the fire squad and putting these guys together. And this is going to be one of them, and all this good fun stuff. So go check out this video. I'll put a link at the end of this one. So if you want, you can go take a gander. And if you liked it, don't forget to hitchhike it, and then fist pound that subscribe button, bam! And if you could, hit that bell notification, because not all my videos are seen. So stay up to date and be the first one to comment. And I'm going to bring back the shout out. So if you're the first person to leave a comment on my video, I will give you a shout out. So with that being said, take care, God bless, go make some customs, have some fun, and I'll see y'all later.